Well, do you think what?
I was just trying to
Nothing. I'm just sitting up straight. I was
Yeah,
wondering if you're gonna do an angle or if you're gonna be hunched.
I don't know.
Straight.
Do you think we should click the button to go live?
Scoot that
One
way.
second.
We're already live.
We are.
We're live.
Oh, I'm talking about sitting up straight.
Yeah.
Scoot that
At
way.
least you didn't fart.
That's good.
Give me a seat at the table. Scoot
What are we doing?
that way.
Oh,
This
see,
way.
it's a mirror image. Come on, guys. We're getting it together. This is your property tax protest team coming to you live. Andrea, how many years do people get their homestead exemption on before they have to reapply?
How many years before they have to
Just
reply?
kidding. This is so wrong. This is Andrea's second day. So
Yes,
is it okay
it
for
is.
me to say that?
Yes.
Okay.
it is
We should talk real quick before everybody's listening. What would you be comfortable talking about whenever we're doing our Facebook? I'm sorry. This is just wrong. I'm just wrong.
I
I'm
can
wrong.
read
This
the
is wrong.
questions as
Look,
they come in. I'll
look.
feel comfortable reading the questions
If-
off to you.
If the next Facebook Live only has Jennifer, this is probably a client right here. You're getting to watch it live. But there's a lot going on. Our website, freetaxprotest.com, was just live today. In fact, I don't want to, I'm going to toot our own horn.
You said two.
I did say two. See, this is where if we can just keep potty humor going, then this works.
Be entertaining.
This is it. All right. No, so my hat is off to our technology team. These guys are incredible. They're probably not going to watch this, but I said
We are not the technology team.
she does everything. She's coding.
No.
Dreaming of HTML. No, so I said we were going to go live at 10 a.m. and we went live early. It was about 9:50 or so, 9:55 maybe. I don't know. And that might not seem like a big deal, but it's a big deal. I mean, we're in I don't know. The Appraisal District just came out with their new site, their revamped site, and I feel bad for them. I feel because I know what it's like when you're preparing for a go live or whatever, and you've got all these new updates and all this new process and stuff. It's the pressure's on, and the consequences are kind of big, and you know, and I know that there are a lot of good people over there working very hard, probably sweating bullets, and Jeff Law is sitting there like, you know, the last time they revamped the website, had a major revamp, it was it had some hiccups, and I know I've talked with him. Gosh, dog, was that yesterday? Yeah, I talked with him yesterday, and I'm gonna just say the dude is trying hard right now. I'm just gonna say that, and you know, whatever happens, largely is kind of like the ball's already rolling. Whatever happens, happens. But I know this. I mean, most people. I'm talking about my little world and what it's been like, you know, getting our website going. I just want to praise our team and these ladies. You're just trial by fire right now. This is like hold on for dear life. And you know, here's all this training. Have you learned anything the past couple of days?
I have learned a lot.
Yeah. All right. Tell us what I'm just kidding. No, but I mean, it's just. When was your first day?
Yesterday.
Yes. Gosh, you know, I was on the phone with my wife, and I said they do something every Friday. They go to this co-op thing, and I said, "Are y'all about to leave for co-op?" And she's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Today's Friday, right?" She's like, "Honey, it's Tuesday." Like, well, when you work, yeah, it's like when you work 40 hours in a week,
Right.
his brain just anyway. So here's the thing. The team is amazing. You've just, my hat is off to all of the team, these guys, and plenty of folks you can't see. So I just have to acknowledge them first. But the second people I want to acknowledge is you, because I'm looking at all the values and it is just brutal. When I'm looking at just our clients, property values have gone up 25%. That's unheard of. 25%. That's insane. That is insane.
1 year.
In 1 year. But not only that, like, okay, so last year the values were here. Now they've gone up in the year before that, they were down here. They jumped 20% last year. They're up another 25% this year. And the problem is now all the values are here, but the true real value of people's home is about right here. So they're getting taxed on this number, or that's what the appraisal district is proposing. They're proposing this number, but the actual value of their home is just a smidge over what it was last year. I think we're up 3 or 4% above what houses were selling at this time last year. And that's part of the issue about our property tax system. And, I don't know how much discretion the appraisal district has in this. Everybody wants to demonize the appraisal district. And look, I'm going to be the first one to say, yeah, there's problems with their website. They've got to get their act together and different things. But there are things that they're responsible for. But by and large, they're supposed to uphold a property tax code and this law that is just screwed up. And it is really, I need to come up with better words. I need to get a thesaurus out and say, what's a better word than, saying people are getting screwed. But that's what I really want to say. People are getting screwed by this system, and it's horrible.
Are we supposed to be looking toward Austin right now and seeing what's happening there, or what?
They're working on it in Austin. You've got the House pass their major bill. You got the Senate pass their major bill. They're both digging their heels in, saying we're not going to pass the other side's bill. But now I will say the Senate's version is actually a better bill, in my opinion. But the House's version is a more extreme reform. It's just that they're missing the mark on that reform because they're lumping in a value cap that covers all property, including commercial, and that's totally screwed up. Anybody that's in property tax, nobody will admit it except for me. But right now, the commercial property owners have a huge advantage in the protesting process because all a commercial property owner has to do is sue the appraisal district and they win. And the appraisal district doesn't know what they bought their properties for. So you have millions upon millions of dollars that are not getting taxed on the commercial side. And so when value is not getting taxed, then what happens is that chunk of value, somebody has to pay the tax. Like the taxing entities are going to make their money. No, if everybody protested and everybody won, your school district would still get the same amount of money and your city would get the same amount of money. It would shift who's going to actually pay that tax. So right now you've got the residential side. We're getting taxed out the nose. Our values are going up 25% at the same time because of this process. If a commercial property owner does a good job hiring an effective quality property tax consultant, their value will be going down at the same time ours is skyrocketing.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of disparity, what it does is it puts the burden on homeowners. And so when they're passing legislation, look, I'm super pro-business. I'm a pro-business owner. I think business personal property taxation is screwed up. You're not going to hear me preaching about it because I'm much more concerned about people getting taxed out of their homes. But the commercial properties they have a huge advantage in the protest process, and they don't need any help legislatively. The people that are getting taxed out of their homes that are faced with a potential of not, of losing their house, they're the folks that need help. So anyway, all this stuff, I could talk politics. I could talk these bills. We could talk about the vote that just happened literally moments ago at the Tarrant Commissioner's Court. They just voted for their nominees on who's going to fill the vacancy at the Tarrant Appraisal District. Tonight, Keller's going to vote. They're going to do the same exact thing the Commissioner's Court does, I bet you, because they want to show some solidarity. But there's a guy named Vince Puente is going to be the guy. I'm just going to say this. I think that I've talked with several of the people involved, and it makes me sick that it's kind of gone political. I think Vince Puente is a good guy by all accounts, but I just think it's tragic that the best guy for the job didn't get the nod, and that guy's Gary Lasada. So I just want to say that. But I also believe this. The Commissioner's Court people, they have a lot of interest to consider. They have long-term to consider. And the entire world doesn't stop at property taxes. And so when they're considering the whole, it's kind of like, well, they have to do the best thing they can to represent the people the best way they can. And I actually think everybody on that Commissioner's Court is probably doing what they feel like they need to do just represent the best interests of people. It's just not what Chandler Crouch would do, but that's okay. We're still all going to be friends, and that's what votes are for. So anyway, let's just move on past that. Here's what we really need to do. I want to answer questions about our website. There are people, I'm seeing comments all over the place about different things going on with different hiccups people are experiencing as they're signing up on our website. And I just want to say this right before I got on the Facebook Live here. I got an update. There was an issue where when you sign up for the protest, after you complete registration, there's a dashboard, and on that dashboard you have an option where you can upload photos and repair estimates and upload your evidence to us that we can use in your protest. It's an optional step. Most people don't do that. For most people this year, I think the comps are going to be huge because values skyrocketed and then they fell like a rock. And so the appraisal district is using a lot of these upper end comps. And if we use some of the lower end comps, I think that we're going to see a wild year for protesting. I think we're going to see a lot of success with that. And I don't think it's going to be, I think it's going to be value driven, comp driven, and not necessarily condition driven. But if you have condition issues with your house, you're going to have the ability to upload that after you go through the registration process. And then I have another button right there that says answer optional questions. And it's just a series of questions. Last year, we made those questions required questions as part of the sign-up process. And this year they're optional because I think, quite frankly, whenever I looked at the results and I looked at what we were able to do with that data, we weren't able to take it as far as I wanted to. I've got a vision for how we can really supercharge our protest magnitudes beyond what anybody is doing right now. I know how to do it, and it largely just boils down to funding. I need to keep our tech team alive 12 months out of the year developing this stuff. And so this year, one of the things that I've done is I've opened up a question on our page here and been very open about this, that the problem is much bigger than what I can do alone. So, and it's not just me. Well, I've got a team here, but I've been the number one donor by far. I should say Chandler Crouch Realtors has been the number one donor by far funding this whole operation. But if we want to actually change this whole system, solve the problems permanently, and implement some of these things that are going to help us to supercharge our protest results to, go magnitudes beyond what anybody else is doing, it just takes money. And so I have a question on our sign-up form that says pay what you want. If you put 0 in the blank, we're going to still do your protest, and you're not going to get, any worse treatment than anybody else. But if you're willing to contribute even just a little bit to help offset some cost, or a little bit more to help pay it forward for somebody else that maybe can't afford anything, then what we're going to do is we're going to use that to reach more people, to develop our system even more, so we can have better reductions and you just keep that tech team alive year round. And then I've got some other ideas. I've got a killer idea. I'm not going to say it out loud because I think it'll make some people mad. But I've got a killer idea on how we can hold the appraisal district accountable on a level that would just be brutal. It would just be brutal. Now, actually, I'm going to revise what I just said. I don't think the appraisal district would mind at all. In fact, I think it would vindicate them on some level, but it would expose problems. I think Jeff Law would actually be very happy at this solution. And I'll tell y'all offline because I don't think I've even told you. There's a lady named that works with Transparency USA, where they just had. Have you heard of them?
Yeah.
Yeah? They're super awesome people.
Yeah.
Well, so all they did is they made this website where they just made all this government data and stuff transparent. So you could see who was donating to who and that sort of thing. And that's a hint of what I'm thinking about doing. I would do if I just had enough money. That's it. Anyway, you got to kind of pick and choose your battles when you're offering stuff for free, So, and then the other then the other thing that we would do is I've got a game plan on how we can solve the property tax system totally. And at its core, what we would have to do is build an army of people to represent us, homeowners. Because at the table, when people are talking about property tax reform, when you're in the inner circle, in the inner room at the table with the legislators that are going to be making the decisions, I've been there. Thank God. It's by the grace of God and the complaints of Randy Armstrong have propelled me to be in this position to be in some of those conversations. They're great qualified people sitting around that table. The only problem that I see is kind of the problem is that there weren't enough people at that table representing the interests of homeowners. And so we need to get a bigger seat at that table. I know how to do it. And so there you go. All right. What I need to do is answer questions here. In the sign-up process, in the optional additional questions at the end, there was an issue where we were making all those questions required. So you had to select boxes saying, like there's a question that said, like, is there anything, I'm not going to quote it verbatim, but it's like, was there anything wacky that your property is located next to? For instance, big power lines, or maybe a airway strip, a runway, or a creek, or different things like that. And your property might not have fit any of those, but yet we required you to select an option before you can move to the next question. Obviously, our goal is to get accurate data that's going to be useful. And so that was just a glitch that we just had to adjust that. And so now that problem has been corrected. And I've also verified that I did not see any answers that I felt like would hinder somebody's results in a protest hearing. And I can go back and look at some of the people that have reached out and pointed that problem out to us. And just make sure, we got accurate data there. So anyway, I just want to report back that issue is solved. There's another problem where people were going to sign up and immediately it said, we are no longer accepting protests for 2023. That's false. We're going to continue accepting protests through, I think May 12th is what we're saying. It just kind of depends on the amount of demand right now. But at last check, we had like, we've had about 500 people sign up so far since we opened at 10 a.m. So that's a bunch of people. So the website is definitely working. People are signing up. If you get the screen that says we're not accepting protests, it's probably because we had 10 people at that very moment trying to sign up and it just threw off some kind of error. Anyway, all right. So I tell you what, y'all could. Who wants to read questions?
Yeah, it looks like
Ooh, you got a volunteer over here, Andrea, second day on the job.
Right.
Here we go. So check it out. Have you ever done this before on this technology?
I mean, I can read the questions.
Well,
scroll.
Obviously.
Not through this.
But check it out.
technology.
If you take your mouse here and you go boom, then you can show it. Now, if
cool.
something says like, hey, I see Chandler's got a booger, like just
Except don't show it.
yeah, don't show that
Don't
one.
screen
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah. And
Okay.
also we just did 4 Facebook Lives 4 weeks in a row. But before we did that, we did 2 Facebook Lives. And I ended up having to delete those because I was making inappropriate jokes. So
Okay.
you've got to help me in that regard. If you
All
feel me
right.
getting off the rails a little bit, we don't want to
Will
delete
do.
this.
Okay.
So can you help? Yeah, you're going to be the one making the jokes.
So we have a question from Kyle. It says, if we used you for protests in the past years, will you be sending us an email to confirm we want you to continue this year's protests?
Yes, Kyle, I will be sending that email. And I would say if we've protested for you in the past, I would say do not go to the website right now. Don't sign up. Don't do anything right now because I now have possession of the value notices. I probably shouldn't have even said that because now everybody's gonna be like, send me mine.
But what form are they in?
I got them on a CD. Okay.
On a CD.
And-
Do you have any computers with a CD?
Oh yeah.
folder?
The first obstacle is finding a computer with a CD-ROM drive to get the file. But then beyond that, we have like one PDF document has 5,000 value notices on it. So the next step is actually all night last night, I had my computer, my tech team. We separated all those out. So now we've got, 24,000 plus value notices or whatever in single individual files. We had to rename all those files. So now we've got them all renamed. And so now we've got to have the other tech team get those uploaded in everybody's dashboard. Don't hold me to this. I shouldn't have even talked about it at all. But I'll say within 48 hours, we'll have that available and have an email out to you, but don't hold me to that. Like the crazy thing is if we were doing this on a daily basis every day, then all this stuff would be ironed out. There would be no little hiccups. But because we only protest once a year, and it's for a month, and we only upload value notices once a year, and all these different functions all just happen once a year. Sometimes when you go live, you have little bitty problems there's no way you would have known about until people start utilizing the system. And so I really do depend on people letting us know if there's a problem or a question like this. The best thing to do is to let us know privately, because I do have some haters out there and they'll dogpile and try and hammer me over the head with anything they can get their hands on. Thankfully, you guys see right through any kind of negativity out there, and it's very minimal, I'll say. We have the best group of people on earth supporting us, and I'm blown away by it. If I sit and think about it too long, I'll probably cry or something. Yeah, that wouldn't be.
Well, here's another question, which I wonder if the answer is a little bit, that regarding the option to upload evidence, we can upload evidence after registration, right? Is there a specific deadline for us to upload evidence?
Great question. So, okay, we want to make the protest registration process easy enough where you can get through it, we can get your protest, and if push comes to shove and we get to that deadline, we've got what we need to make sure we get it filed on time. We've had a 100% track record of filing every protest on time. And just a heads up, you're going to see people on May 15th freaking out. Some of the protests we file on the 15th. And so if you see somebody call it saying, hey, we checked with the appraisal district, they said that you haven't sent our protest in yet. Well, it might be because there is some strategy on filing on the actual day. That's not something that makes me nervous. I'm very comfortable with it. It's strategy. It's to ensure the best result, but for numerous reasons I'm not going to get into, but you've got that. So you can get through the entire registration process, and then after you do that, you land on a dashboard where it asks you if you want to finalize the protest or answer optional questions, give me additional information, or upload optional evidence. Those optional things are going to remain optional, and you can come back to it until like May the 12th. Okay. And so the reason we do that is we actually want you to finalize your protest as soon as possible, because it will allow us to begin negotiating with the appraisal district. We don't want to negotiate on your behalf if you still plan on sending us some repair evidence. So we let that kind of hang out there unfinalized, but yet we've got the legal authority to protest if we run up on the deadline. It's just the best of both worlds to make sure that we're doing our best to serve you well, get your protest filed on time, but still give you the ability to upload evidence. And I would just say this, I mean, part of the beauty behind what we're doing here is we're taking the workload off of you and the need for you to have to do a bunch of homework to learn this whole system, and we're doing that for you. And so the vast majority of protests this year, I think that you're going to be just fine not uploading evidence. And by evidence, I mean photos of condition issues or repair estimates showing that there were repairs that were needed on your property back on January 1st. It's going to be evidence that points towards property condition issues on January 1st. That's the kind of evidence. This year, I think that the sales data is going to support a lot of reductions. But you know what? We haven't doved. We haven't doved. We haven't divin. We haven't doved. Dived. Is it dived? Is there a word for this?
Dove.
These poor Olympians that dive for a living, how do they talk about diving past tense? It is impossible. They're set up for failure. I dived great yesterday. I doved great. Anyway, whatever it is. So I haven't dove back into the data to really look at the protest. I'm just looking at macro wise. Anyway, all right. Sorry, Kay White. Kay White, my best friend's mom, English teacher, and she'll get on and correct me and grammar on comments and stuff.
Great.
If she watches this,
That's
then
good.
yeah,
That's
no, it's
great.
good. She helped make sure that I didn't end up in jail or dead. She's part of the reason why I'm sitting here today. So
Well, that's good.
thank you, Mom. All right,
Oh.
let's keep going.
So you have another question from Barbara. Can you protest a split property between two owners?
I hate this. There are a couple types of accounts that we can't protest for. One of them is split properties. And it's just because honestly, it gives the appraisal district a hard time too. They do those manually, and there are a ton of problems with it. I did split accounts the first couple years, but what you have to manually do some of the process, and so it increases the odds of errors. And so the way that I've been able to do so many protests at a high level and just continuing to pile on more and more and more is because what we've done is we've systemized the whole process. So everything's like an assembly line. And if everything's consistent, then I can do one function for all the properties and dive deep and get a team of people diving deep, and we just kill it. And it's easier to train people on one thing. Where if we accept so we don't accept split properties. We don't do confidential properties. And this broke my heart. We had all these first responders, police officers, politicians, and people that and probably like victims of crimes and stuff that needed our help to protest. And in the beginning, when I could afford to do more of a manual process, I did them. And then 1 year I had to let everybody go, let all the confidential accounts go because I couldn't get access to their data.
And it kills you because you're awake for 3 days straight trying to do it.
Well, yeah. When I did it manually, and she's not kidding, it's like I would have to actually physically stay awake for several days in a row to meet a deadline just to do these manual protests with the, but I just need access to the public data. And if the data isn't public, I can't do it. And so that's it. So I can't do split accounts. I can't do confidential accounts. We've narrowed the focus to single family residential houses. So that means we can't do raw land, undeveloped land, commercial buildings, multifamily. I almost brought a commercial guy on board who could have done it. He just
Could you do duplexes?
I think it depends on how the duplex is set up in the system.
Okay, so if it's one address, 2 accounts, no.
Right.
One account, one address.
One account, one address, we're good.
Okay.
It has to do with, they start dividing everything in half. Anyway, all you have to do to find out if your property qualifies is just go to our website, freetaxprotest.com, and just try and sign up. And if it lets you sign up, we can do it. If it won't let you sign up, then we can't do it. And I think it's something like 95% of all properties we can do. So anyway, good question though. Hey, wait, you got to show him.
This one?
Yeah. What's up, Rocky Gilly? Rocky Gilly is running for, I think, City Council Kennedale, and he is excellent. If you want somebody fighting on your behalf and you live in Kennedale, you need Rocky Gilly to keep the seat. He was a fill-in, I think maybe a recall or something, and he came and answered the call of duty, and now he's up for re-election. And I just want to say what's up. Rocky is the real deal. So there you go. All right. What else we got? You're doing great, by the way.
Oh,
Second day on the
you.
job. Look at you.
Thank you.
This is
You just
amazing.
threw me under the bus. So we got one. Hello, Chandler. I sent an email to Tad and provided my house pictures with improvement that needs to be done to lower the value of the house. They accepted us as an informal protest, and they responded with lower prices, but still is high. Can I still sign up with you guys to protest the property tax? I didn't sign anything or do paperwork with the new value they suggested I should do. How can you answer that?
I'm so sorry. I didn't
put
hear.
this up there.
I didn't.
That took it as
It's-
back. It took the whole.
Can you just
Bring
get?
up.
I'm sorry. I enjoyed that. I think the long comments are going to be my favorite comments because. Can you just?
They do hide us though.
Yeah.
See.
Yeah.
I'd rather
Can you? Can you give me in a nutshell what she just said? Because I didn't listen to words
Okay,
you said. I'm sorry.
basically, she submitted some stuff, but she didn't sign anything or mail the official paperwork in.
Oh.
She wants to know if she could still sign up with us.
Did she sign up with us?
Well, they started some stuff on their own. So
Oh, on your own.
I sent an email to Tad, provided my house pictures
Oh.
with improvements. Can I still sign up with you?
You
To
can.
protest. She didn't sign anything. They said they'd mail the paperwork. So-
Yeah.
So they started.
You know what though, Ennis, I love what you're doing there. I think here's the crazy thing. I actually think everybody should protest on their own. That's what I think. I think you should go the extra mile and do what she's doing here.
Yeah.
Whoever this is.
And it's-
Yeah, because That's it. It's difficult to do. And what's going to happen is some people are going to find out that the people at the appraisal district are actually pretty friendly and they're actually going to really help. And even if you don't get a good reduction, what I used to do is I'd ask them for advice. I said, what can I do different with this evidence to make an effective argument if I take it to a formal hearing? And they'll tell you, a lot of them. I think what you're doing is great. I would encourage you, if you go to freetaxprotest.com/videos, I think it's the video in the top left corner, is a how-to video where I'm teaching you how to do it yourself. I highly recommend doing it yourself if you can. So I think you should just give it a shot. Wait till they give you a response back. And I would say if they don't give you the response you want by like May the 12th, then maybe sign up with me. But here's oh gosh, I just said the worst thing. I hate it when somebody negotiates with the appraisal district and the appraisal district gives them a really good offer, but then they say, I want to see if Chandler can do better. Because then that just puts me in a spot where it's like, well, what if I don't do better?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the truth is like I used to have a little list where I was like, there are all these politicians and all these people that are like VIPs, people that were just had volunteered or whatever in the past. And I would just give those an extra long look and make sure we're doing good. That list got so big, I was just like, I can't maintain a separate process. Everybody gets the same treatment, and the treatment for me to be able to sleep at night, everybody gets that treatment, the best treatment of I'm going to do everything I can to give everybody the best shake. Now, with that being said, there's no guarantees. If you go down and you talk with one person, showing them evidence, they might have an appraiser that's going to agree to a value that is far different than what another appraiser in their office would agree to. And so if I go protest, sometimes I'm way more effective than you could be. In fact, I would say a large amount of the time, just because I know the rules and I know what's effective, I'm going to have more success than the average person just because I know the rules. However, if somebody watched my video and then put in the time and effort to assemble your own evidence and you went down there, the emotional appeal that you would have by, number one, being able to talk firsthand about your property, and number two, knowing a thing or two about what makes an effective argument, I think you're going to have the best odds of getting a reduction better than anybody else. Because the other thing is, I'm not going to burn any bridges. If I'm going down there and I'm going to protest for 30,000 people, I'm not going to die on the hill of one protest. I can't. If I had one protest to do and I was lividly mad about what was happening in that protest, I might lose my cool strategically. Now, I don't think that's a good idea. I think you should maintain your cool. I've seen a lot more cooperation by treating these people with the highest level of respect possible, trying to become their friend, because nobody wants to mistreat a friend. Everybody wants to treat a friend nice. And so that's my strategy is I want to be friends with everybody. It's a better way to be. But there are a couple of times where I felt like there was a complete injustice happening in the protest hearing. And there are a couple of times I've lost it, but I did it in a way where I was standing on justified ground that like I had an appraisal with a value and they weren't giving me the appraised value and I went nuts. So, I've got to pick and choose my shots. If I had one property, I would arm myself and go in there. Anyway, I can talk. I've talked for 30 minutes on that one answer. Sorry. Talking about protesting. I get excited. I can't hide behind the thing and do hand puppets. And so here I am. Answer your question. Yes, you can come. Now let me answer your question. You can still come sign up at my website.
There's no guarantee.
There's no guarantees. As long as you didn't accept a value that they proposed, then you're good. But I would say if you're filing a protest, pick one place to go and file your protest in one place. It just causes a problem. The appraisal district's records are jacked up and haphazard. It's difficult when somebody files a protest on their own and files a protest in my system and it happens on the same day. Then you're leaving it up to chance to figure out, like, who gets precedence, and that's one variable. There are several other variables that can cause a real big problem. So just pick one place to go. Come, let me do it for you, and I'll be happy to alleviate the headache. You just have to know I can't guarantee any results. I'm going to do the best I can. And if you've ever protested on your own before, then you know how stressful it can be. You know how sometimes you get laughed out of the room and it feels like you're just getting stepped on. And I am not immune to that. They will treat me like that too. It happens. Fortunately, that's not the common experience. Fortunately, the majority of the time, they do treat me with respect, and they respect the fact that I actually do go all out for these protests. And so they give me a fair shake. But I get the raw end of the deal. And so what I'm doing for you in that instance is I am saving you the trouble from having to deal with those negative emotions of getting stepped on. And I'm happy to do it because I step back, baby. Anyway, all right. Okay.
Some more questions?
Chill out.
Chill out.
Don't rage, Chandler. Don't rage. It's okay. We're good. All right. Okay. What else we
You
got?
ready for some more?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is what low sleep looks like.
Brandon,
And quality caffeine.
And
Yeah.
quality.
Is there a difference?
Quality caffeine.
Is there a difference between natural caffeine and those products that don't advertise natural caffeine?
no, I think they
Caffeine.
both work.
It's caffeine. It's like ibuprofen.
Caffeine is
Sugar.
labeled
Sugar.
a drug.
Uh,
It really
God.
is. So what is natural or
Um,
the synthetic caffeine?
hey, I don't know. Whichever one works the best. All right, what we got?
It says, I just registered on your site. According to your site, it says my house value is 14,000 more than the tag letter I just got stated. Why is that?
Brandy, I want to see your letter. I want to see your letter. We need to save this. Hold on. I'm gonna just take
Screenshot
a
it?
yeah. I'm gonna take a little photo. Because Brandy, I'll tell you why. If you go on tad.org right now, it doesn't show any values at all. You've got their site has not updated the values on their website, and I couldn't tell you why. So we got the values. We got values through a data feed. And if you got values on a letter, it might mean that they have, I bet I know what it is. It might mean that they changed the values from the time they gave us the data feed to the time you got this. We updated ours today. If they gave you a value notice with it $14,000 on your letter, then send us that and I'm going to take a look at it. Now, I'm going to tell you what I think it probably is. Pay attention to the terminology. Let's just focus on your letter, okay? If you look at your letter, there are two words. One says appraised value, one says market value. And then they're actually going to have something on your value notice that has last year's value. So number one, you have to make sure you're looking at this year's value. As long as you're looking at this year's value,
Market value.
then there's a difference between the appraised value and the market value. If my website has the market value, because that's the only number we're legally allowed to protest by law. They will not consider a protest on the appraised value. And the reason why is because appraised value actually is not an appraised value at all. This is part of the lunacy of property taxes. What they've done is they have taken this word that everybody understands and they have given it a completely different definition. So when you think you know what you're talking about, you're using English. Then they hear a different language. Your words don't mean the same thing. Appraised value really should be called homestead capped value. So my hunch is, without seeing a thing, is that your appraised value is here and your market value is $14,000 above your appraised value. And when you look at your notice, you see appraised value, you think that's the value of my home. You go to our website and it's $14,000 more. Well, really, we're probably looking at two different numbers. However, I will acknowledge that there's a possibility they just changed the value and you may be getting another notice in the mail. Who knows? I don't know. But I want to see your notice. Did I take a picture? I got my phone now.
You did
I?
take a picture.
All right, cool. There.
Send it to
Send it to protest@chandlercrouch.com. I should have let you say that. Protest@chandlercrouch.com. That's where you We will clear out 100% of those emails. I've got a team of people equipped with all of the answers that I've given on all this stuff. And these people are geniuses. They are property tax experts. And if there's ever something they don't know the answer to, it gets escalated. We get you the right answers 100% of the time. And well, I guess, we make mistakes, but it's rare. Actually, I'm the only one that makes mistakes. The rest of the team is perfect. Okay.
Brandy said, okay, got it. Thank you.
Oh, all right. Well, cool. Thanks, Brandy. Hopefully that's the case.
All right. Will we really see any tax relief based on the passing of Prop 2, raising the homestead exemption on school districts?
Yes, but it'll be minimal. It'll be for 1 year. And then as soon as values go back up again and all the school districts pass a higher budget, then you're going to see all that go away. So here's what we really want to see. So the House version of the legislation that they are considering has a greater amount going towards they call it rate compression. And what that really is it's the state funded portion of your school district property taxes. And if they buy that down, that's a benefit to everybody. And it is considered to be permanent. And so we want to see more of that. So that's the House version. But I like that part of the House versions of the bill. But until we see that kind of property tax elimination happening, then anything that they do is going to be a Band-Aid. I could give some suggestions. In fact, I have given suggestions on ways that I would change the whole property tax system. There's a guy named Texans for Fiscal Responsibility. They actually have sound plans on how to eliminate property taxes. I've heard a lot of other people talking about eliminating property taxes, but they don't have the how-to figured out. Those guys do. But if you listen to what they say, his name's Tim Harden. He typically just focuses on this one area of buying down the half of the school district portion because there's a good plan in place for that. We just need to, and so all of the other, when you pay your property tax bill, you get the city, the county, the school district, all these different people get a piece of that money. So I haven't heard a plan on how anybody can eliminate city, county, hospital funding. Actually, I have heard a little hospital funding, but Tarrant County College and the water district and all. There are a lot of people with their hand in the pot. Now, am I really yelling that loud? The air conditioner just shut off. Now I realize I'm just screaming over here. Just screaming. There's a microphone in front of me. A very nice looking microphone, if you don't mind me saying, commenting on the microphone, the shape of the microphone. So here's the thing. There is a good plan in place to get rid of the M&O portion, the state funding portion of the property tax. And so I hope that the Senate adopts that part of their legislation and then we roll with that. All right, let's go to the next question. Change subject.
Brad has a question about the website. In an additional information section on your website, there were a few sections that required a selection to submit the form, and they could not be left blank. Will this be a problem?
Brad, thank you so much for bringing this to my attention, and I apologize for this issue. That was just purely an error. We had a couple boxes checked that we needed to uncheck. Now that problem has been fixed, but I have looked at all the data that I have looked at so far. I've been able to determine that it's not going to adversely affect your protest. So that problem has been solved, and I'm going to take, let me just take a picture of him too. There are a number of people I'm going to go back and just make sure and look at their stuff and just see if any of the selections I think might have hurt them in their protesting. A lot of times that additional information, the reason those aren't required questions is because I'm going to use what I can to get you a reduction. I'm not going to lie. My obligation is to put our best foot forward. And also give the homeowner the benefit of the doubt. Most people don't know this process as well as I do. And so if you've put something in your form that I think is not going to work to your advantage, and I think there might be an error with it, I'm not going to lie about it, but I may not include it in your protest because I'm going to assemble the best argument that I can for you. I hope that makes sense, but there's your answer. So thank you, and I apologize and appreciate you. That's kind of why we did the Facebook Live, honestly, is I wanted to answer this question and see if there's any other issues like that. What else we got?
Okay, and the last question I see is if you protest yourself, are comps required?
No, Alicia, great question. In fact, write this down. 41.43a. 41.43a is a section of the property tax code that says the burden of proof is on the appraisal district to give evidence for them to give evidence that supports the value that they're proposing. Okay. And so if you heard about the issue where Randy Armstrong filed complaints against me, I bring that up every now and then, but he filed complaints against me. The reason, one of the basis for his complaints was he was saying that, here's what happened. This is an entertaining story. So just give me a second. So what happened was I went to the appraisal district and I protested on a property that they had valued at $900,000. I was able to get them down $100,000, $100,000 reduction. And get this, that reduction was not based on any evidence that I had submitted. It was based on me looking at their evidence and saying, this evidence that you're submitting is total trash. And you guys have not satisfied 41.43a. And I think I'm saying that right. I'm pretty sure. But in that portion of the tax code, it just says the burden of proof is on the appraisal district to justify the value that they're proposing. So I went in there and I said, here's all this evidence that the homeowner wanted me to submit, but let's just look at your evidence. This evidence the homeowner wanted me to submit, it wasn't even good evidence. I was like, let's just ignore that. Let's look at your evidence. And you tell me how you can justify $900,000. I said, you can't. We need the value much lower. They deliberated and they knocked off $100,000 just like that. And you know why? Because that appraisal review board panel was a quality panel and they did their job. That's what they should have done. Because in the tax code, it says if there's not enough evidence for them to justify their value, that appraisal review board must make a decision in favor of the homeowner. And so they did that. Now, later on, I went and listed a property for sale with the same address for $2.5 million. Yes, baby. Yes, winning. Hashtag winning. I feel like Charlie Sheen. Do you remember that? That was such a wild trip. All right, focus. Here's the thing. That address actually contained 3 different appraisal district accounts. So I went to the appraisal district and I only protested on one of those accounts. I didn't protest on the other 2. So what happened was I went and when I protested, that $900,000 proposal was for one house on 1 acre of land in upper end Keller, luxury home Keller. I mean, sorry, not Keller, Colleyville. It was in Colleyville. And so then whenever I went and listed a property for sale, it had the same address. So it looked like the same thing. But what it was is the property in Colleyville contained 3 different appraisal district account numbers. So that the house I listed for sale contained 2 houses, 5 acres of land, like 6 barns, a couple ponds. I mean, it was an apples and oranges thing. And, anyway, so the investigation concluded, Chandler, there was no evidence of a violation. And so I am the most investigated realtor. If you want to make sure your realtor's on the up and up, you just have to call me because nobody else has been the subject of so many complaints and escaped without any evidence of a violation. When you need a realtor you can trust, you know who to call. All right. Did I answer the question?
I hope so.
I went off on story time and didn't really. Oh, so the answer is no. Comps aren't required. There you go. All right.
All right. So Beth says, if I have new multiple homes on my street that are rentals now, does that help lower my taxes?
It's a great question, Beth. And I'm going to answer several other people's questions that might be thinking something similar. You might have big, crazy power lines out beside your house. You might have a neighbor that has a toxic waste dump on their property, or you might have a gas well that somebody was putting in, or you might have an easement, or you might have railroad tracks, or you might have any number of things that are in your community, in your area, that if you were to ask the average person, does that affect property values negatively? The answer would be yes. Now, and I would agree. I think most people would agree. Now, here's the thing. We can point out these different things and make the best argument we can. If there have been sales in the area amongst those different geographical blighted things. In fact, if you're going to go protest on your own, what I would do, I don't even know if this is a thing. I forget. I've passed all these tests. I got all these licenses, but in one ear, out the other. I'm just faking what I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm
Yes, you
just,
do.
so the word to use is obsolescence. And I would say it's an environmental obsolescence. I don't know if that's accurate, but that's what I'd say. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I guarantee an appraiser, even if I'm not right, he'd shake his head and he'd think, oh, wow, he knows about environmental obsolescence. I hadn't even heard of that. I'm like, yeah, bro, that's what happens in my world. We have environmental obsolescence. But that's what I would say is that issue would be an obsolescence. Now, if 3 other properties that would have been affected by that obsolescence, if those properties have resold and they sold for sky high, guess what? Those sales have just proven what the market value effect is of that issue, of that obsolescence is on those sales. So if you've got sales data that proves otherwise, then there's nothing you can do about it. Then it is what it is. But now, on the other hand, if there's not any sales data, I would go to town on it. Or if the sales were lower, then you've got your proof to justify the reduced value. But you just have to think about it data driven wise. If there have not been sales, then what you can do is you just have to get some kind of data. It could be news articles. It could be a study. I remember one time on there are a couple different protests I can think of. One time, there was a house that was near a big old radio tower, and there were no sales that had happened around. So I looked up all these articles, and you can find articles that say the radio towers are just fine, and you can find articles where people are concerned that it might cause cancer. I don't know what happens, but I got all those articles together. I had to figure out how to assign a value to that reduction. I came up with something. I went in and I was successful. Another time, I was protesting on a house that somebody was murdered in, and it's called what's it called? Not blighted, stigmatized property. That's the official word for it. And so I did this in-depth study on the effect of a stigmatized property. If somebody's been murdered in a property, what kind of effect does that have on your protest? And I would say this is public knowledge. I think we're good. Everything I'm about to tell you is public information. So it was issue where gal was murdered in TCU area. It was gal murdered in the garage apartment area. So get this. I went and got my protest. It turns out the more gruesome the murder, the more it affects property value. So if you've got
In a good way or a bad way?
bad, yeah.
Someone wants to live in a house.
If-
Too many people.
In general, if chopping or eating is involved, then it's bad. But do I have to delete this Facebook Live now?
No, but
Okay.
now I'm sad.
Oh,
I don't like talking about bad
Happy
stuff.
Chandler just
Okay.
went to a very dark place with a smile on my face. Who have I become?
I want to redirect. Let me redirect. What is an example of good evidence and what's an example of bad?
Well, I got to finish the story.
Oh, okay.
Stigmatized property. This is what I'm talking about. A murder that the appraisal district tried to say this wasn't an issue because it didn't happen in the main structure. It happened in the garage.
Oh,
Can you believe that?
No, that's
Wow.
terrible.
Oh, I went to
No.
town, boy. I was
No.
crazy mad about that one.
Yeah.
And anyway, I don't know what happened with it, but all right. So that's what happened with it.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Anyway,
Sorry I interrupted your story.
no. What was your question?
Well, can you give them an example of what would be good evidence and what would be bad evidence?
Okay. So I'll define good evidence as evidence that's going to put you in a position to get a reduction. Bad evidence would be evidence that does nothing for you or actually goes against you. I'll give you the worst kind of evidence. The worst kind of evidence is if you think you're doing a good thing and you show me, are you doing good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm good.
Second day on the
What?
job.
Oh,
You
yeah.
just hanging in there with us?
Yeah.
All right. You're not secretly dying inside or anything?
No.
You wouldn't admit it. Everybody's watching.
No,
All right.
okay.
So if you get a lot of evidence saying that like repair estimates or repair invoices, but it shows that the repair work was completed and the completion date was before January 1st, then that's the worst kind of evidence you can show. Because what you've done is you've just proven to the appraisal district that your house has just been improved. And now there's a big caveat on that. If that's dated before January 1st, okay? If it's completed before January 1st, that's not going to help you. if it's completed after January 1st, then that does help you, because the goal here is to try to put together an argument on what the value of that property would have been on January 1st. So if the work was completed after January 1st, then I would go in saying, yes, the work is completed on this. However, the condition issues existed on January 1st. This proves it. The work was done in February. So obviously those issues existed in January. So I'm going to propose that we reduce the value based on that. That's quality evidence. The best kind of estimates to give would be things to show significant issues. So foundation estimates are free to get. Roof estimates are free to get. Those are big ticket items. Plumbing, electrical, major systems in the house. Cosmetic issues don't carry as much weight. Paint, carpet, fencing, that sort of thing aren't going to carry a whole lot of weight, but you can throw it all in there. Just give it a shot. It also helps if you have photos. So if you have a repair estimate, I've heard the appraisal district, I think that they're going to be pretty friendly this year. In fact, Jeff Law told me straight up, he's like, man, we want to work with people this year. We know it's crazy, and they understand the data is whack. So they're getting comps from way up here, but the value is way down here now. They're going to do their best to give you a reduction. And so if you go in there, like you send them anything. I distracted myself. I'm running out of steam. All right, what else we got?
Okay, this is the last question. Beth just tagged in, but I think you might have answered some of that. If you've done my taxes the past few years, what info would I need to send about the rental homes in particular?
Beth, all you got to do is sign up, freetaxprotest.com. We walk you through it one step at a time. Once you sign up one property, then you'll, from that point forward, you just click the sign in button on the top right corner. You go sign in. There's going to be a button there that says add an additional property. You just add a property. We utilize market data. And here's what we do. Our process is this. We analyze the appraisal district's evidence. We find problems with it. We poke holes in it. We invalidate it, or we use their evidence to prove why your house is worth less. So for instance, if they use a sale that's on a golf course, we want to point that out to them and say, hey, subject property is not on a golf course. Therefore, subject property should be valued for less. So that kind of thing. We analyze their evidence. Then we get our own comparable sales data. And we put together an argument like that. If optionally, if you want to provide condition issue evidence by taking photos of the condition issues, repair estimates, and that sort of thing, then that'll help. But beyond that, as far as you just need your name, phone number, email address, and that's basically it. So it's really simple to sign up. We try and make it as easy as possible. And I just want to say this before we log off here. It is truly an honor to serve you. It means the world to me. We get so many comments of appreciation and gratitude, and I just cannot, it's overwhelming. I can't really, it's just too much, to hear people say thank you like that. It just blows me away. And you need to know, look, you may not get a reduction. There's a possibility. I can't guarantee that, but I can guarantee this. I take this very seriously. I view it as an honor. It is truly my pleasure to serve you. I'm going to do everything I can. And the support that you show just means the world to me. So thank you so much. What else we got? I saw one come in. What's that say? How long does the process take to know if they accepted the protest? Oh, so sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to do your job.
No,
Look at me. I'm micromanaging.
The only
Second
thing
day.
productive.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, Crystal. Let me give you a snapshot. What it is. The protest process has two parts. One is filing the protest. That's simple. There's nothing to it. All we're doing is basically giving them our intent to protest. That satisfies the legal requirement. We're going to do that by May 15th. Okay. We have a 100% track record filing all protests on time. We're going to get it filed for you. Okay. Then they're going to give us a hearing date at some point in the future. That hearing date is going to be our new deadline to resolve a value. What we're going to do is we're going to assemble our evidence. We're going to negotiate with the appraisal district. We're going to see if we can get them to accept a good value, the lowest value we think the evidence will support. We're going to try and get them to get that value or lower. If they won't, then we escalate it and we take it to a formal hearing with an affidavit. If we believe that the evidence is strong enough, it just needs a pair of human eyes to make a common sense conclusion, and it doesn't, no explanation needed, we'll send a affidavit protest down. If we feel like an explanation is needed, then we'll do a live in-person protest, and we're just going to be doing these things until they're all finished. We don't know how long that's going to be. Gosh, I would say the appraisal district has a statutory requirement to finish 95% of all the valuations by July 25th. It's going to happen before that, but when is really up in the air. Right now, they're having all sorts of problems with their website. Their hands are full, but they're also working with us very well. So there's kind of a mixed bag on some things are going really good. Some things are challenging for them. There's just no way to predict the timing of it. But as far as accepting the protest, it's accepted. You're good to go. If you signed up on my website and we allowed you to sign up, it means you qualified. It means we're taking care of it for you. And so you just set it and forget it. And hopefully you get to enjoy the rest of your day and won't have to do the protest because I'm going to do it for you. There you go. All right.
I have one question.
Oh, please.
Okay, last question is, if you're thinking about selling your house, how, like if you're going to move this year or even next year, how does protesting affect your value? Are you worried? Will it hurt?
Gosh, we could go for hours. I'm going to answer that question. And I'm also going to answer a question. I don't even know if you've heard the answer. Yeah, you know this. You know everything. Of course you know.
I know.
I'm going to answer the question of if you are over 65, what does the freeze mean and what should you do? And even if that doesn't apply to you, you probably know one of our senior friends here. I was going to say silver, but senior. Anyway, one of our friends over 65 that you can share this information with. It's super valuable and it's awesome. And I'll tell you. All right. If you think you might sell your property, here's the truth. The appraiser, the realtor, nobody involved in the home sales process is going to give any weight to your tax value. They're not. We look at the MLS, we look at sales data. We don't care about Zillow. We don't care about the tax value. It's not going to affect anything. Okay. Now, if you protest and they're valuing you up here and your taxes are based on this number and you protest it down, then what that means is you're lowering your expenses. Well, there's something called a debt to income ratio. You may have heard of it. It's one of the criteria that lenders look at whenever they try and qualify you for a mortgage. And it looks at how much are you having to spend on a monthly basis for your expenses, your ongoing expenses, and how much income do you have coming in, and what's the ratio of that? It's really simple. Well, if you reduce your expenses by protesting your property taxes, then what that effectively does is it allows them to pay more for your house. You can negotiate a higher price. So I can give you an argument on why it helps you to protest. The only counter argument to that would be the perception that your house might be worth less if you protest and get the value down. I think in a different type of market that might be more applicable, but it's just nobody cares. It doesn't affect your value of your home. I think it's a great question. I know a lot of people are thinking the same thing.
So if you're thinking about selling your house,
then you need to call 817-928-4300 and we're going to take care of you. That's what's funded 95% of our protests up to this point is we have the success that we've had as realtors has allowed us to be able to do this. We just want to give back and help our neighbors. And I'm just fortunate to be able to work in an industry that has allowed us to develop the skill set and generate the revenue that we can reinvest and give back to help people like this. That's what it's all about, is giving value to people. And whether that value comes in the form of protesting or whether that value comes in the form of utilizing those same negotiation skills to negotiate a better deal for you when you're buying or selling a house, we're here to help one way or the other. That's what it's about, is delivering value. All right, the seniors thing that I mentioned, if you are a senior citizen, make sure that your over 65 exemption is in place. You can look at your tax bill. That will tell you if you know how to read it, or just send the appraisal district an email, exempt@tad.org. That's exempt@tad.org. Ask them if your over 65 exemption is in place. And here's the thing you're not going to hear anywhere else. If you are over 65 and you think that there's a possibility that you might move in the next 2 years, there's a really good reason, a strong argument on why it's a bad idea for you to protest. And here's the reason why. When you're over 65, you get that exemption in place. the property value can still go up. The tax value, the market value, the appraised value, it's going to just continue to go up and up and up and up. Okay. And so that freaks out a lot of seniors because a lot of times they're on a fixed income. And they're like, wait a second, these property values are still going sky high, but my income is not. What am I going to do? Well, this exemption does not affect the appraisal district. It affects the tax assessor. It is applied to your tax bill, okay? And so when you pay your tax bill, a portion of that's going to go to the school in your area, your school district, a portion is going to go to the city, the county, and all of those different portions are treated a little bit differently with these exemptions. The school district portion has a cap on it, a ceiling where they won't allow the amount you pay to the school to exceed the amount that it was when you turned 65. Okay. So it is virtually frozen. The values will go haywire, but the amount of money that you pay is frozen. Okay. Not every taxing entity works like that. You've got like the hospital and the water district and those things. They're not going to be frozen, but they make up a very small amount of your tax bill. So here's what happens. The amount you pay is frozen at this. Then every year, all of your neighbors that don't have that same exemption, they pay more and more and more and more and more and more, and yours stays the same. Now, let's say 5 years from now, you decide you're going to move. Well, that means you're paying a certain percentage less than everybody else, or a certain percentage less than what you would have been paying if you didn't have that exemption. Let's say you're paying 15% less. Then what happens is that the percentage, 15%, if you move, you can take that percentage with you and apply it to the next property. And so if you're getting a 15% reduction right now, then you move, you apply to have that transfer to your new property. That 15% will be applied to the new property, and now you're going to be transferring the benefit. Now, so here's the thing: if you're paying 15% less than what it's being valued at, and then you protest and get that value down, well, now you might only be paying 10% less than what it's valued at. So if you sell your house, that 10% number is going to be transferred. So it's counterproductive. If you're a senior citizen and you think you might move in the next 2 years, do not protest. It will hurt you. Oh, it not will hurt you. You do the math on it. It still might actually still be a good idea. That's what I said. It still might be a good idea, because some of those taxing entities aren't frozen. So like the school, the water district, those sort of things, they're still not frozen. So you're going to save money one way or the other. Mm-hmm. Here's the other thing that every senior citizen should do across the board: apply for your tax deferral exemption. The tax deferral gives you the ability to not pay your taxes at all. I'm not going to advocate for you to not pay your taxes. My reasoning for telling you to get your tax deferral on there is so you can have a safety net. This will ensure that the government cannot tax you out of your house. So you pass your tax deferral, it will be your safety net so that if something happens and you can't pay your taxes, the government won't take your house. You can defer those taxes. I think there's a 5% penalty per year if you don't pay the tax, but you never have to pay that. You're going to leave that to your kids, and you're going to be dead. So who cares what they have to pay? I'm just kidding. That's probably somebody's, here I go again. Chandler's off the rails talking about potty or death humor. But you get your tax deferral in place, and then and let that be your safety net. And then if you're not planning on moving, go ahead and keep protesting. That's the strategy for seniors. And believe it or not, I mean, it's easy for me to say, but I mean, those are powerful exemptions. I'm not going to say that should just solve all your problems, but man, if you've got those exemptions in place, you're doing the best thing you can do for yourself. And if you know somebody's a senior citizen, I promise you, they're not going to hear this information anywhere else. You need to pass it along to them. Just try and understand what I said a little bit. Say, don't protest if you're planning on moving. If you're a senior citizen, everybody else protest, or get your tax deferral in place. So those are the things to pass along. My phone's ringing. This is my wife saying, Chandler, you've done it again. No, it's not her. All right, what else we got?
I think
we've said
a lot.
We've said like 10 times. This is the last question.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the last question?
And you said a goodbye still.
I did a
You,
goodbye.
you did a really
Goodbye.
A heartfelt, yeah, like a thank
heartfelt
you.
goodbye, thanking everybody.
This is your
And
second day
then-
on the job. What do you have to say for yourself?
I'm excited to be here.
Ooh,
Yay.
yeah.
It's a great team. And I followed them before I started working here and believed in the vision. So I'm really excited.
Rock on. I'm freaking so happy that you're on board.
Yes.
Awesome. There you go. Now, let us sell your daggum house. Stick a bunch of money in your pocket. We kick everybody's butt. Go look at our reviews. We kick everybody's butt. You know how you know for sure you're getting a horrible realtor? Is if they're discounting their commissions. You want to know why? They're trying to create value for you. And you can create value by minimizing what you pay or maximizing what they deliver. If you want to guarantee you're working with a realtor that doesn't have anything to deliver or enough to deliver to compensate for what you're paying, you go with somebody that's reduced. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't. You should absolutely look at what are you getting for your money and make sure you're getting the most for your money. Let us compete right alongside the discount realtor that's going to do it for pennies or whatever they're going to do. I don't know. It could be the most expensive decision you're going to make. And quite frankly, when I was deciding how we're going to design this company, I said, I'm going to make sure that we're delivering the best results for people possible. And whatever it costs for me to do that is what we're going to do. And I might miss out on some business up front by not cheapening ourselves and cheapening our service just so we can get more business in the door like that. But at the end of the day, the thing that you're going to remember that's going to stick with you and your family as long as you own that house is going to happen once you get to closing. Okay. And that's what I'm concerned about. If I want to make sure, instead of making you happy on the front end by dangling a carrot and saying, hey, we'll do it for $500 or whatever wacky stuff is going on out there, I say, you know what? We're not for everybody, but if you're concerned with making sure that your transaction ends well, then we're the folks for you. And I stand behind everything we're doing. The buck stops here, and that's what's up. All right.
That's what's up.
That's what's up. All right. Let's do it, y'all. Let's kick some butt, take some names. We got a lot of protests to do. We're going to be busy. You got your work cut out for you. You have no idea. We're going to get off of here, and I'm leaving. I'm going to get some tacos.
How do you end that thing?
I don't know. We just got to say bye.
Breakfast.
Over now.
Bye.
Bye.